Today, we're talking with Mark Wright, VP of Sales of Cognitos, about how to grow your company through enterprise sales, as well as AI solutions to common business challenges. Welcome to BeyondSaaS, Mark. Before we jump in, have you got a golden nugget for us today?
Oh, thanks for having me, Jason. A personal golden nugget I talk about with some of my team and what I do is nothing new, but I'm a big fan of Brian Tracy's book, Eat the Frog. So, my point today is always do that hardest thing first thing in the morning. And I try to do that. I always write down a couple things late at night that do not delay, get them done. Well, that's my little golden nugget that I've done for years and years and years now. And I hope others do as well.
I think that's super important. I have a 10-year-old and I keep trying to teach him that. Like, he wants to avoid the hard things. I'm like, just eat the frog, just do the hard thing and get it over with.
There you go. The day will be much, much smoother after that.
My golden nugget is random. I was just thinking about how much time Instacart saves me and how I have much healthier food when I use it. So food delivery services from the grocery saves me from eating out every single night. So a little bit about Mark. Mark is an enterprise sales expert with many, many millions in sales. I saw at one company you had over 16 million closed, which is fabulous. You're now the VP of sales at Cognitos, which allows companies to unlock productivity using AI. And it looks like they can simplify even complex automations with measurable ROI and impact. So that sounds amazing. I am Jason Niedle, founder of Tethos. For the last 22 years, we've been experts at accelerating tech company growth through strategy, branding, lead gen, and conversion. So again, welcome, Mark. Tell me a little bit about Cognitos and how you see your role there.
Yeah, so I lead a sales team here at Kognitos, helping enterprise customers automate repetitive manual tasks. Certainly not the first company to be in that space, but how we look at it is very different. Built on an AI model there, serverless cloud solution where we can deploy agents rather quickly, looking at back office and front office tasks where people are manually repeating these processes day in and day out, typically within finance, HR, IT, and other use cases. Historically, that was kind of an RPA use cases, and now we're able to spin them up quickly with less infrastructure and less team needed to actually manage those automations as well.
So what would you say motivates you, and then what are you trying to accomplish at Cognitos?
What motivates me is, twofold. One, I'm in the profession of sales to, kind of chart my own destiny and be able to work as I need to be able to help support my clients as well as my family on a personal level. But the thing with Cognitos is we saw an opportunity in the marketplace that was being underserved. A lot of my previous clients were simply having trouble on the ROI story. The larger that their automation team grew and the more they were actually supporting the business units, the worse the ROI got for them because it took that much more people to actually manage these things to support the business. What Cognitos is doing is simply turning it on its head, where now we're leveraging business to be involved in the journey, to be able to help us automate these things rather quickly, and then bring some of that money back to IT to make more informed strategic decisions around AI specifically.
Very cool. And where would you say Cognitos is in the growth stage? Are you guys startup or mid stage, or how would you place yourself?
I would still consider us a startup. We're a Series A company today. When I joined 2 years ago, still seed funded, had a handful of mid-market manufacturing clients. And then in the last 2 years, really started to propel and get into some large logos across the globe in enterprise. What's great about the enterprise is that they have bigger problems to solve, which typically means, a bigger spend to help solve those problems. And that's really been transformational for us over the last 18 months, getting into the enterprise. And now it's really in that scale phase, scale from a product standpoint, as well as from a people standpoint. We're certainly hiring in a lot of roles, specifically sales, to take that message out to the marketplace and ensure that we're helping the CIOs formulate their AI agenda over the next 2 to 5 years.
Sure. And how would you describe your big goal for this year in terms of growth?
It's a lofty one. It would be somewhere in the measure of 6-7x of sales that we did last year. So certainly eager to hit those goals. I think now is the time, especially with the agentic revolution that you may or may not be hearing or reading about. I think AI is overall the big picture item that everyone's talking about. I think there's this really unique spot right now for agentic automation, where now we don't have to have the entire playbook of a process or a use case. We can simply onboard an agent as if you would an employee within your line of business, give them some parameters and details about what their job would be, and then allow them to handle some of these things. At first it's a small piece that they're doing. And as they learn more and more, it starts to really see, not just bottom line, but top line impact to the business as well. So lofty goals, excited for this year ahead with the agentic strategy that we have in place.
It's very cool. So obviously that's a huge goal. What are the challenges you see to getting that?
A couple of things, and one, that competition is fierce in our space. Absolutely, there's a lot of companies right now that are speaking about AI and agentic, and there's RPA players that have been doing this. I mean, that's one. So it's really important that we differentiate ourselves strongly, not just in the field calls, right, but holistically, how we go to the market, how we share over all of our different social platforms, and things like that. And the other is people. Right. We need great people here at Cognitos to help us, get out there with our vision. I think we've got a really strong team now, but it's important that we keep our culture. We have such a beautiful culture that we've built at Cognitos, and that we're able to keep that as we sustain and grow and, build along the way.
So if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and change one thing that would fix one of those problems, what do you think you would fix? What would you do?
One would be, how do we get to the C-level better, right? How do we get our message across to them around the true differentiators of Cognitos rather than one by one, right, Jason? Instead of you and me meet and now we're going through this and we're understanding, we're deciding, how can we quickly get that message out so that when we get on the calls with them, it's one step further in the sales cycle. That's really something that I'm working on right now with our marketing team, is how best to showcase that, because we believe we truly have a unique product in the marketplace. It's just it's a small and mighty team, and how do we get that out to the executives before we actually jump on a call?
I don't know. You seem pretty good on podcasting here.
Okay, maybe I'll do more of these.
What are some things that you've been doing that have been working well?
I'll tell you one interesting thing we've been doing. And right now, the name of the game, Jason, is the more opportunities and calls we have, the better off we'll be. We've actually went old school a little bit. We are now doing a bunch of campaigns around actually sending mail to our prospects. I know that's not a new thing, but I think we forgot a little bit about it. So I've got everyone on my team, having their top 50 CIOs that they need to speak with. And we're putting together some unique packaging to send to them in their office of why, previous automation is archaic. You can imagine some of the stuff we're putting in those boxes around dinosaurs, right? Getting a little unique there, and why now is the time to switch to agentic and a new agentic player, Kognitos. It's been really effective. I find if you send something to somebody, they will take that call, and we're starting to really see a lot of high impact pipeline coming from that output initiative. So excited for that one. It's a little unique, a little old school, but it's working.
I think this is the first time I've heard mail, that word, in any of these conversations, right? So that's pretty cool. But absolutely, like if you have the right people and you can target them in the right way, it opens their eyes and it gives you a little bit of visibility. A super random idea, but I saw this Kickstarter the other day, and they have these itty bitty little TVs, and they're about this big and they're $50, and you can load them up with your own content. And I was thinking, how could I use those for a mail campaign? Because you could ship someone this itty bitty cool looking little TV for $50, right? And they get it and it has your messaging on there. And then every time they touch the button, it switches to another channel, which is just another one of your videos. And I'm like, that would be a great marketing tool. You get someone semi warm, and then you send them this little TV, right?
Interesting. You have to send that link. I'm certainly interested to try that. And yeah, I think everyone's facing the same thing in enterprise sales. It's like they're just inundated with emails and everything else, right? And especially in our space is very competitive, right? What I was talking about earlier with, Agentforce and others, and it's easy to get lost in that message. So I still believe people buy from people they like, and getting something unique in the mail is exciting. And more often than not, I think they're willing to take that call, or at least put you in touch with the person that should be speaking with you.
Right. So you talked about like the competition's fierce, and you have to differentiate yourself, and you have to find the right people. What other specific things are like blocking your growth?
I think one thing that's interesting in this space is that it moves really fast, meaning that yesterday or, a year ago, it was Gen AI, or a year and a half ago, we want to talk about Gen AI, right? And then it's AI. And then you get on calls and they say, well, can you generate this PowerPoint for me? I've heard AI does really well in that. And it's like, yes, there is absolutely a solution out there in the marketplace to help you do that. But ours is helping you, either reduce headcount or improve employee efficiency via automation on AI. So it does change rather quickly, whether it's like English as code is important or still the drag and drop functionality. And it's really important for me to work closely with our product team to share, hey, this is what people want now. And this is what people want in the next 6 to 12 months. Again, making some assumptions based on my conversation in the field. But that's been somewhat of a blocker at times, is just keeping up with the market and the ask or the demand from enterprise customers on what an AI platform would look like.
Yeah, absolutely. And change is so constant these days. Everything changes all the time. So how have you had to change over the last 7 years?
Well, there was this big event in the middle of that, right? Which was COVID. And that made everyone change how they do business, right? And I always talk to people about like getting in the field. I guess I sound a little old school with the mail thing. And I'm still traveling in the field as much as possible. And I always talk to my team about this. Like, Jason, we can meet each other. Great. Like we can be on Zoom and understand and start to talk about some of your pain or challenges with your automation program and how Cognitos can help. But to really get deep, I think in a relationship standpoint, to sell to the enterprise, large deals, we have to be out in front of our prospects, meeting them, meeting with the team. We do it's like a half-day session called AI Unlock, where we look at your current processes, make some assumptions. And at the end of that, you have a deliverable that says, here's where you can save money over the next 18 months via automation and AI as a lead behind, so that we work together going forward.
Is that only for clients or is that for leads?
For leads as well. We talk about it as like our third step, right? So, we meet you, we talk a little bit high level. Does this make sense? Kind of, socially dating there. And then we get into more, demo, let's share about Cognitos, what we do. But the third step, Jason, is we need to get with your team. We'll start with showing them overall, here's the macro trends. Here's what Cognitos does really well. Okay, now you guys start sharing. And I've seen that go most of the time really well when you have executive support. I'm like, hey, share with Cognitos what that magic wand question you said earlier. What's the magic wand for your business unit? And I think they really love it because we have a great lead behind. Like just something on their desk to tell them, well, there's millions of dollars in efficiencies we could be gaining with Cognitos. Let's take this further. And that's when we start getting into more deal specific. That's not something I used to do, but something that's really working well for our client base here at Cognitos.
I feel like it's such an obvious thing to say, but when it's clear that you say, here's the value of what you're going to bring, right? And many of these AI things are not clear about the value in any way, shape, or form, right? They're like, okay, well, this is going to help X, Y, or Z, but no one's saying you're going to save this much money.
We do have a great tagline where we can give you ROI from the first year, which is typically unheard of in a lot of, enterprise purchases. And that's been really well. I mean, another thing I don't know to open up to the masses, but something I'm doing now that I used to never do as well is doing money back guarantees. If you don't like our product, no worries, give it back to us. Like, not a problem. And no one's taken us up on it yet. But I think getting out of this POC realm that everyone's been in enterprise for so long, it's like we're just delaying the savings we could be seeing. Let's just get started. Everything makes sense from a security perspective, from a buying perspective. If you hate it, you can call me and we'll give you the money right back. That's interesting. That's like working in the enterprise more than it used to.
It's interesting because we've done this for 22 years. So building websites and brands and all that. And we were essentially a service provider. We make you look good. And then about a year ago, we started focusing on the ROI. Great, we can make you look good, but am I generating leads and am I bringing you business? And as part of that, we started offering an ROI guarantee. And it's absolutely transformative, but it also transforms how I think about everything. And my product has to be different when I'm delivering the ROI, just like, as I'm sure now you guys have to think about your product entirely differently now that you know that, like, hey, this has to deliver that return.
I don't think the level of effort that we've given our clients has changed with that guarantee by any means. But as a buyer, I certainly appreciate it. So we just kind of jumped into it. And even pricing wise, we're like, what's the ROI you expect from this, right? You're saying this, great. So you're willing to pay this price rather than getting into the SKU models of we've got these 7 or 8 different SKUs here. Let's mold these together and get the right package for you. We've even kind of done some ROI calculations to get what works best for our clients.
That's super interesting. So you've told me about mail. You've told me about actually traveling to see people, and which a lot of people are not doing anymore. Any other cool marketing or sales hacks for our audience out there?
I'm starting to dive into a little more of the like AI agent SDR things. I've taken a couple calls there. We have not done that by any means. That's something I'm really interested in and diving into. We certainly have the current playbooks that everyone else has, right? Which we're always tweaking to make sure that they're most relevant, keeping it short and simple and sweet. And then we've also looked at like fractional salespeople and or SDRs and how you can, leverage them without needing to expand your footprint, too big. And that's something that's really intriguing to us. But really those core like old school stuff is what's working best for us today.
What have you guys been doing for lead gen?
Lead gen, we do have a core team of SDRs that we've hired and really armed them with your core companies like outreach to help them with sequencing, and how they would leverage that. Again, doing some unique events that really fit for us, like AI4 in Vegas has been absolutely great. The best AI event you can be at, and we've actually been, speaking at that one. And then getting our CEO out there. I mean, no one can share the vision better than him. That's been a really great tool for us, is whether it's an event, he does some podcasts, some webinars, and we get a lot from there. I guess lastly, I would share the trial. We recently just released our first free trial experience of Cognitos, and that's actually been the best source of lead gen for us. Not from a perspective of, hey, you tried it, let me reach out to you and see what I can sell you. But we found that a lot of people are working within the product and they're looking for an API connection that isn't readily available on the trial. And we're able to work through their problem with them and then put together a business case on how this would work best and go forward that way. So that's been a great lead gen for us, is actually our free trial.
That's really cool. You talked earlier about people. How do you select the right people, the right partners?
Yeah, great question. We still fundamentally believe if you worked with someone in the past and they were great, that's going to be the best, person for us. We've tried a couple different things. We found that having some background in the automation space, whether it be one of these big companies or smaller companies, doesn't matter. But being able to have an intelligent conversation around your tech stack, what you're using today, and some of the ROI back to it has been really the best strategy for us. That being said, we have a huge scale number, as I mentioned earlier, as well as a headcount number this year. So always open for, the best talent out there to come help us bring this to the masses as well. So hoping that things like this will actually, incur further talented candidates to approach us.
The world is changing really rapidly, as we've been discussing. What do you see as any upcoming trends in terms of marketing and sales?
It's an easy one to say, but the AI trend will be here to stay for a long time. I mentioned at the top, we're in the agentic AI category, and it's APA now. Agentic automation is what companies are driving on and doing. And I think Gartner's recently put out a study that's the number one thing on CIOs' minds this year. So great. I firmly believe in a couple years, 2, 3, it's going to be just AI as the category. So it's really important for us to have short-term, medium-term, long-term vision of our product and solution and what that will be. Right now, it's natural language English as code, right? Typing in line by line what you want to automate, handling exceptions in English, and then having the agent go out there and do the work. But I do believe the trend in the future in this space will be, pure AI with very little human input as needed. And we want to be the leader in that category as it comes in the years to come.
That's amazing. What do you wish you could tell other sales VPs who might be at an earlier spot than you?
Well, first I would say keep your head down and keep pushing. Again, with the change we talked about, Jason, it's very easy to think, well, hey, we're not doing it that way. Is that the right way? Are we, in the wrong beat? And we all have those things, right, that come to our mind that we think about. But the important thing is, do you have the right people in your company from leadership level down? Are you hiring the right people? Do you have the right people in your company? And do you believe in the long-term vision of what you're doing? And are customers resonating with what you have on the truck today? Then you're in the right spot. Just keep pushing and going forward, and it'll all work out. Whatever's meant to be will be. I've certainly had those moments in my career here in other companies, but every time I've just kept pushing forward, it's always seemed to work out.
Great advice. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
Another this time. It's been a great experience, Jason. I appreciate us having this conversation and helping us share the message. And if anybody wants to follow up with me directly to talk Cognitos, sales, movies, anything you want, happy to discuss at mark@cognitos.com.
And that's Kognitos.com, Kognitos.com. Mark, thank you so much for being on Beyond SaaS. And if you out there are a leader in mid-stage tech looking to grow, please drop any questions, comments, or feedback below or at tethos.com. That's my company, TETHOS.com. And of course, your likes and subscribes are super helpful. So until next time, this is Beyond SaaS.